Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Pounds to Kilos. First of all, this is my mic right now. Someone asked me if this was a hamster when I pulled it out of my bag the other day, but no, it's a microphone and it's a very good microphone. Thank you for the feedback on the sound quality in the earlier episodes. I've been working on getting that better for you. In this particular episode, the sound quality is obviously a little bit different because it's a Skype call with our guests. So please bear that in mind. I did my best to make it nice and clear for you guys. I think you'll agree it's pretty good for a Skype episode. So what is this episode? Well, it's a great interview with our guest, who is Shane Orr. For those of you that don't know who Shane is, he is Tia-Clair Toomey's coach. He's also Tia-Clair Toomey's husband. I was able to get an interview with him, and I'm very grateful for his time, particularly around this time of year. Although he did mention that it's pretty quiet now because they're in a taper phase, so I found that interesting. We cover lots of different topics. I was very mindful that I want to know plenty about Shane as well as just asking about his wife. But I think what's worth acknowledging at this point in time, while we're a few, 10 days out from the CrossFit Games, understand that Tia-Clair Toomey is the most decorated CrossFitter of all time on the female side of things. She's got 2 firsts and 2 seconds. The only other woman to win it twice, well, the 2 women to win it twice, Annie Thorisdottir and Katrin Davidsdottir. I believe right now we're going to see Tia do 3, and she's going to do 3 in a row. And that's going to make her a clear standout as the greatest female CrossFitter of all time. So I was really fascinated in the growth of them as a team and the growth of her as an athlete, because if I can share me as a fan and as somebody who's been involved in the sport for a decent amount of time, watching Tia-Clair Toomey's growth, I've commentated every regionals that Tia was at. So I got to see her on the floor. And in 2014, I need to be quite frank, I don't remember her being at regionals. She was there, but there's a lot of athletes there, and keeping up with the big names is not easy. And she wasn't a big name back then. In 2015, we had 5 people qualify for the games at the Pacific Regional, and one of them was her. She didn't finish particularly high up, but I remember thinking, great, like this girl's going to debut at the games. I hope she does well. And when you say things like that about a debutant, I hope they do well. It's just like, let's just hope you get through the games and don't sort of finish in the bottom 5 or something like that. And I mean that with all due respect. That's just how a lot of debut games have gone from the Pacific Regionals for people. After a few days, she's up near the leaderboard and doing quite well. But all eyes are still on Cara at that point, because Cara had her great games the year before, minus getting injured on the last day. And then coming into this last event in 2015 at the Games, which was a pegboard, kettlebell deadlift, handstand push-up, assault bike type thing, I remember watching it play out and thinking, if she beats Sarah Sigmundsdottir here, she's gonna end up on the podium. And she ended up on the podium, and then I guess the rest is history. So it's been an incredibly quick rise to the CrossFit Games podium, and now she finds herself as the absolute hunted. She's the dominator of the sport. We haven't seen a woman dominate like this. I know we've had other multiple champions, but we haven't seen anyone clean up like this. 2 sanctional event victories this year. Can it be a CrossFit Games victory? I know I certainly do hope so. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there viewing from the Australian and New Zealand audience hope so as well. Enjoy this interview with Shane. He's a remarkable coach, a really great dude. We met on a course a few years ago, and he couldn't have been more open and willing to meet everyone around him that weekend. And I really thanks Shane for joining us. Keep converting pounds to kilos. I think I'm done. Like, Shane, thanks for joining me, man. I really appreciate it. Busy time of year for you. Is it fair to say that you guys are pretty ready? We're only a few days out from the CrossFit Games. Has it been a long wait this year for the CrossFit Games?
It has been a long year, surprisingly. Initially, when they announced all these sanction events and the new format of the 2019, we thought we'd pick 2 or 3 events and then we'll just wait for the game. What we just found ourselves where these events have been is just sort of, it required us sort of go from one event onto the next. So it has been a drawn out year, especially that I'm already thinking about the next season with the Open not too far away again. So I feel that there's always something happening just around the corner. So that's kind of kept us moving, literally. But they're they've been good changes, and it's sort of something we got to adapt to, I guess.
It's interesting that you talk about next year already, because I'm going to ask you about next year. But in relation to the way it panned out this year, as soon as you saw the new format, was the goal always to just try and win the earliest sanctional you possibly could, or was the Open the goal, or was that all planned?
Yeah, so when they announced all these sanctioned events, I think we had the natural response, like everyone, was just sort of shocked or uncertain if it was true or not. But once they did announce all these sanctioned events, Tia got in a message group with some of the other elite athletes and just said, "Hey guys," pretty much opened up the chat to say, "What are you guys doing?" And then Tia pretty much just informed them, "Hey, I'm looking at doing Wodapalooza. I just want to let you guys know, just for whatever reason." And the other ladies were pretty responsive to that as well. And that was our goal, correct. We wanted to make sure that we locked in an early sanction event so that we could then follow on with that prep, or have an off season, to prime ourselves for the games. But that did, find us wanting to go to Rogue as well.
In hindsight, were you happy with how early that Tia qualified, or is it possible that she almost qualified too early? Like there's been too big a gap, or has that gap been good?
Yeah, and I agree. I think that there was a moment there where I thought maybe we qualified too early and we should have focused on more of an off season for her.
Okay.
But instead, in saying that, I think, like many people, we thought that to do an early sanction, just in case that doesn't work, we can then move on to the next, then on to the next. But I think that it was very beneficial for us to go to Wodapalooza, knowing that there's a water event as well. So it kind of played to our favor. And when you do look at the sanction events, that's a well-established event, and we kind of know that going into that they've got a lot of systems in place that could make for a good show and a good competition.
Well, it certainly worked out that way. Because you've had so much time to, I guess, reflect on the previous season, after the success of the 2018 games, was there any glaring weaknesses that you guys needed to go after, or was it just business as usual and start prepping for the next season?
Yeah, so we look at every performance and we break it down. So after every major competition, we'll sit down together, we'll go through all the information, rankings and placings, and then we will compare that to her performance 12 months ago. Right. So, for instance, let's look at the 2018, the marathon, where she placed 13th. Obviously, that was her weakest finish. And but on the other side, 12 months ago, when we would compare where she would be, she's improved a lot. So we've got to take an individual performance aspect and see if she's trending to be better in those elements, and not get caught up too much on what the other ladies or other competitions doing as well. If that makes sense.
Absolutely does. Now, I'm sure that your main focus is, obviously what's going to occur for you in the next month, but you did reference next year already. If you were to do it differently again this year, are you guys going to go after a similar qualification method, or are you going to wait to see what the Open throws up, or what's already throwing around in your head for 20?
Yeah, there are conversations I've been thinking about a lot of. I think I'm going to wait and see what the Open has in store. I mean, This year they said that the top 20 will be seeded at the games, and I'm going to see what kind of benefit that has at the games. If that isn't a massive benefit, we may just move on to the sanction event and go through it that way, so we can have a proper off season. I am conscious of off season. I believe in it. I think that it's very important for an athlete to have some downtime to reset, refocus, and enjoy a bit of life. But on the flip side, if there's a lot of weight bearing on the open, obviously we'll suit up and do that, and we'll probably pick a similar format to what we did this year. Do 2 sanction events, one close to the games, and then one early on. We're looking at doing the Mayhem one locally here, so that's just literally in our backyard, so it makes sense to do it.
Yep. Ask you, this is the first year probably in 4 or 5 that Tia didn't have to go through a regionals qualification in Australia. Like just purely from an enjoyment point of view, did you guys miss that a little bit, like coming down to Australia and being part of the community there?
Yeah, honestly, that just gave me chills. Yeah, we missed it. Like I know it's a big attraction for Australia and for us as well. That's a big calendar event for us. We just missed. I know Tia just misses the competition with the local ladies. I think for us, or for me, sorry, it's a great test. With obviously with Cara Webb being there, she's a phenomenal athlete, and to have Tia and her in the same space is a very accurate indicator of where the rest of the women are in the world.
Uh-huh.
So I think we do miss it, and we miss the atmosphere there for sure.
Now, for that reason, it sort of leads me to ask about how life is in Cookeville and what the major benefit, not just to Tia as an athlete, but also for you guys as a husband and wife, as a family. Like, what have been the major upside for you guys from living in Cookeville and training at CrossFit Mayhem?
Yeah. So, firstly, the travel's so much easier for us. So, for instance, for Wadapalooza, we were 2 hours away from landing in Miami. So to fathom that from Australia, where obviously we're looking at almost 24 hours plus to get to Miami, and then to add the acclimation of the jet lag and putting all those elements on there. So for us to attend Wadapalooza, we would certainly be looking at leaving Australia almost a week before the event, and then to acclimate and then do a little taper for the event. Then on the flip side, once we come home back to Australia, there's probably another week of sort of getting back into normal routine. So on a piece of paper, 2 weeks out of the 52 weeks in the year, we're kind of chewing a lot of time through that.
Yeah.
And another big benefit is we've been to Cookeville a few times prior to this permanent stay, and it's a phenomenal place for us. It very similar to the environment we had back at home. Everything's just 2-3 minutes down the road. Well, the exception of a phenomenal facility of Mayhem. They've got 10 of everything, and it's just phenomenal for us. And then to have the likes of the Mayhem team with Rich, with Fraser, a lot of individual athletes that pop in from time to time.
Yeah.
And just the lifestyle again, just utilizing our small window of where we are to travel the world as well is another big important thing for us as well.
I want to ask you about the interaction with the other high-level athletes at Mayhem, because naturally I can imagine that you want Tia and you as a coach want to interact with them to get the most out of it, but you've also got to stay focused on what you need as a team. So how often would Tia abandon what you had planned for the day and just jump into Mayhem? Does that happen, or is it always by the book?
Yeah, no.
So Tia's very disciplined in a lot of those aspects. Like, she follows her program to the T. That said, she likes to jump in with the other groups. Obviously, we moved here to be a part of, to be involved or to be in the same space as a lot of these phenomenal guys. So, yeah, from time to time, Tia will jump in and do a lot of their training. Oh, sorry, not a lot. Do some of their training,
Sure.
Especially if we go to the lake and they do a big event there, like a big swim or a swim event. Tia will be a part of that. The other week, Tia participated in a triathlon with them as well. So Tia's trying to get a good balance and utilizing their strengths as well, like trying to be a part of their training and hopefully in return helping them out as well.
Yeah.
But it is good. It's great to have like-minded people. Is a big benefit as well.
Even from just this short chat so far, I get the sense that you are a very methodical coach of an elite CrossFitter, dotting all your I's, crossing all your T's. From your standpoint, where did the coaching journey start? I know you're an affiliate owner, so CrossFit Gladstone. Was it always the aspiration to be involved in high-level competitive CrossFit?
To be honest, no. Like I had no aspiration to be a high-level coach. My aspiration was to help Tia, and whatever she wanted to do, she approached me and asked if I could help. And to rewind it back a little bit, I was a mechanical fitter by trades, always going off data statistics and making sure that there's a system in place. It's kind of the background of making sure that there's a purpose in things we do with the mechanical mind. But at the same time, I've always enjoyed or find it fascinating human performance. So just watching elite athletes do whatever they do, from NBA to obviously rugby league or watching any other sport like the Tour de France at the moment. I get a real thrill out of just watching what the body's capable of. So it did come surprisingly, like on how fast we've grown as a couple, but I honestly just thoroughly enjoy it because I thoroughly enjoy helping Tia at the moment.
From an external sort of, I guess, education or maybe inspiration is not the right word, but who have you looked up to in your journey as a CrossFit coach, as a sort of elite CrossFit coach that you aspire to, or they sort of formulated the way you go about things?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say a CrossFit coach in such. I will say that maybe the biggest inspiration or the belief was probably instilled in me with Miles Weidel from the Australian weightlifting side of things. He believed in Tia and I very early on, and from that point, it made me believe in what I could do to help Tia, and I know it helped Tia develop to who she was today. So I looked at him for guidance, and he provided that for me. So I'm very much appreciated for him.
Did he come on the scene? Had Tia had success at CrossFit Games level at that point, or was it before then?
No, so it was very early on. In fact, it was a local comp in Brisbane. Now, I might butcher the name of this, but I don't know. Maybe comment below. They might know. I think it was I'm trying to think about it, but it was a local comp in Brisbane, and he heard about what Tia did. It was an event. I think it was one round of Cindy and then a clean and jerk every 90 seconds or every minute.
Sure.
Anyway, Tia got to a high bar for her body weight. I think it was 85 kilos or whatever it was back then. And Miles heard about it through the grapevine, and he just reached out and said, "Hey, I think you're phenomenal and all this and that. You have the ability to do really well, and I'd like to meet you." And anyway, from that relationship, it's really grown to the point where he took Tia and I to the Olympics, to the Commonwealth Games, and just believed from us from that very early on. So to put it in perspective, that was probably Tia had qualified for regionals, and then later that year she then did this event, and I'm still trying to think about it, but I can't think of it.
So that if that was Tia's first regionals year, then that must have been 2014 then, because she went to the games in 15.
Correct.
In 15, she qualified for the games, and that was the first year of 5 people qualifying. So I think when we were at the Pacific Regionals, a few of us were sort of like, "Oh yeah, that's great that this girl Tia-Clair Toomey's qualified." Not many of us know about her. Mm-hmm. It's fair to say a lot of us were surprised that year that she took second at the CrossFit Games. In your heart of hearts, were you surprised too, or did you know that she was capable of that?
We were surprised, 100% surprised, to the point where Tia got on the podium and she's obviously just grinning, and she was so stoked about her result. And then she walked down the tunnel and she spoke to Andreas from Reebok, and Andreas was like, "Man, what a good weekend to get a good paycheck." And Tia's like, "Paycheck? What do you mean?" And he's like, "You get 100,000 for coming second." That just made a holiday. We're like, "Yes, this is awesome." So honestly, we never looked at prize money. We never thought of anything like that. It was just solely just going to be a part of it. And then all I remember from the first event, after a great result, we're like, okay, cool. Let's just hold on to this position. Let's just stay top. Let's just not come last. Sorry, let's rewind. Let's just not come last at the CrossFit Games. And anyway, cool. First event, great. Let's see if we can just stay top 20. That'll be phenomenal, Tia. You're doing a really good job. Just keep doing you. And then anyway, it came on to Saturday. Tia, what are we doing in this position? This is amazing. Let's just hold on. And she's like, I'm trying. And then we got to the last day. Like, Tia, this is nuts. You're in a fighting chance to be on the podium.
Yes.
And like at that point in time, we were just going through a roller coaster of emotions, of highs, and then sure enough, she finished second. So yeah, we were certainly surprised on the result. But once we talked about a performance, though, like, to be real, that there were a lot of areas that she was like, I held back, or I didn't go 100% because I didn't know what was next.
Yes.
So that was a big learning, and that was a big area for us to improve in. So that was interesting and exciting at the same time. So we were thrilled, and it was a surprise.
And I suppose this is I hope this question comes across as respectful. Did it ever happen so quickly, the growth of you guys as a team, that you thought, I don't know if I can actually handle this? Was there ever a time where you thought, I might need some help from a coaching perspective, or maybe we need somebody else on our team, because I didn't expect to be trying to coach a CrossFit Games athlete, a CrossFit Games champion so quickly?
Yeah, I believe that's natural to question yourself, and I think that's healthy for me as well. If I'm questioning myself, if I'm giving her the best, or if I think that there's better ways to do something, I think that's healthy. That makes me believe that I'm still very interested and that I want to give her the best. And if I keep questioning myself, I think that's the same thing what an athlete would do, where they question their ability and everything like that. So it's just the same sort of dynamic. But I collaborate with a lot of coaches, and some of them are in Australia that I bounce ideas off when we talk from time to time, and I really appreciate that support as well. But honestly, it comes down to having a good circle around you. That took some time for us to develop, to understand a lot of these thoughts as well. But having a great support or a great network around you just makes the environment so much healthier and positive, and that goes a long way.
Shane, can I ask you, I recently listened to a coach of another sport talk about how 98% of his job was before the competition started, and prepping and all the work that goes in then, and then on game day he basically sits back and understands that it's almost out of his control. I think it's slightly different for you on game day because there's time to chat between events, but once the games start, how much control do you feel you have as a coach, if any?
Yeah, I feel like I have no control. And that's probably what works me up the most. I feel that I was in control for so much of the year, and now that I've got to sit back and then I've just got to help strategize or talk to her, and then just between events and do that, there's nothing I can physically do to help her performance. Sorry, that's from a coaching aspect, but from a partner or from other elements, I can remove some external pressure from her. So providing, hydration, making sure her recovery is on point, transportation, liaising with officials to make sure that we know what's going on between events, making sure the leaderboards, where we are on the leaderboard, and just doing all these other checks to make sure that that she doesn't have to think about that. They're my roles during the games time. But I agree that, and we oftenly joke about it. I'll just dust off my hands and go, right, here, that's me done. It's over to you now. Right. And then we have comments about that. But so I agree. Yeah, most of my work is done up until check-in of the games.
This is not a yes/no question. I'm sure it requires further explanation. But do you enjoy the CrossFit Games? Like, have you enjoyed the experience of the CrossFit Games the last few years, or has it just been almost too stressful?
Oh, look, it certainly is stressful, and you can feel the tension just being in the atmosphere of, the build-up or the warm-up and a part of everything like that. I think these are the moments, though, that we'll look back and you'll reminisce these moments in between events, and then the talking of it, strategizing, trying to find calm amongst the chaos. I think they're the great moments. Trust me, I wish it was easier. I wish we could just be 100 points, have a handicap of 100 points and lead with that. But I don't know, it really builds for what the whole experience is. So as much as I would love it to be stress-free, I don't know, I wouldn't want it any other way sometimes.
When you talk about the 100-point gap, that reminds me of it's probably like choosing between two children. Do you have a more enjoyable games out of the two victories? Like, I'm sure they're both very different because of the position that Tia was coming into them from. But does one of them sit with you as, oh, look, that was the best of the two?
Yeah, I actually haven't really thought too much of it. I certainly the second one was less stressful.
Yeah.
The buffer and points. I would say the first one certainly meant a lot because, I don't know, to be a world champion in something and to be a part of that, for that matter, or to watch her do it, that's just phenomenal. Like, it's not many people get to be a world champion, anything. So to be a part of that and to watch it live was phenomenal.
Shane, I must ask you, you obviously have a unique relationship with the athlete that you coach, like, your husband and wife, but the reality is you're obviously a very effective coach of an elite CrossFit Games athlete. Have you I know you guys have been doing seminars and you've been getting information out there. What are we going to see you begin to coach other elite CrossFit Games athletes?
Not at this point in time. Honestly, I do this for the satisfaction of helping Tia. Like, that is my number one goal. And it may sound cheesy, but that's my biggest thrill. And I'm emotionally invested in Tia. I love helping other people. Like, I feel like I've found what I like doing, and that's being a part of the coaching or the development side of things. I really think that this is what I enjoy doing. But at this particular time, I just really want to help Tia be the best version of herself, and I'm honestly blessed that she wants me to be a part of it, because it's not always rainbows.
I'm interested. You talked about emotional investment. Like I said, you got a unique relationship with your athlete. How important do you think that emotional investment is as a coach? Like, if you were to give guidance to either other people coaching their partners, or perhaps just coaching a friend, or maybe someone they don't know that well, what level, like, how important is that in the coaching relationship?
Well, personally, I think it's very important to understand and to have that relationship, so you can have a better connection with that person, and just with the communication, with body language and presence of being supportive, and knowing that, identifying that when I'm with Tia, I'm not the bad guy. I'm on her side when things get tough. Like, she understands that I may say something will be critical or constructive criticism that could come across negative, but at the end of the day, she knows that anything I say is because I want her to be better. It's for her to be better. So I think creating that relationship early on, that any feedback I give is not because I'm trying to make you feel worse about yourself. It's because I actually want you to do better. Is very important.
And how, like, that's obviously something that did you have discussions about this early on in the piece? Because I can imagine that there would be times when, after a difficult day of coaching and training, that did you ever take that stuff home and sort of think, oh, do we need to talk about what happened at the gym today?
Yeah, early on we did. Like, early on we were just, I'm not saying we're the most experienced, but early on, when we were naive to a lot of things, we would sit back and just go, oh, you didn't get that last lift. How does that feel? Or having remarks like that. We would certainly joke about it and bring it up. But I think that now that we realise this is a profession and that we're taking it very serious, that we've tried to put things or systems in place again, that as soon as we drop that last roller door, close those last doors, that we switch off and we just talk about our actual lives and the other things that matter to us, just the little things like food.
Look, mate, I think people would love to hear, obviously, how you guys feel you're tracking coming into the CrossFit Games. We're only a few weeks out. I know you probably want to keep your cards close to your chest, but has it been a good few months or weeks, I should say, post-Rogue Invitational? You guys are happy with the training that's been put in?
Yeah, we're very happy with where we are at the moment. We've spent the last couple of weeks actually up in Vermont with Matt. Matt invited us over to his place, and Tia and Matt would train alongside each other a lot. Now that we're back at Cookeville now, we're just into our final stage of taper, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
But I am personally, and I know Tia is, we're very happy with where we are. I strongly believe that Tia is beyond her. She is the best version of herself this year. I really believe that. Everything's trending towards that with her results and her training. I think she's a lot better than she was at Rogue, certainly a lot better than when she was at Waterpalooza. So I'm very excited to see what the next month brings for us, and we're ready.
Do you, as a coach, watch other athletes closely so that you understand who has what capacity where and what events that come out might favour who? Are you aware of that stuff?
Yeah. I like to be aware of all those things. Sometimes it doesn't help knowing that stuff because you can only focus on your athlete, or in my case, Tia. But I think it can be a benefit sometimes knowing their strengths and weaknesses, particularly their strengths, just utilizing that and understanding how that can impact the leaderboard and not be taken that by surprise. I think that if I don't relay these messages onto Tia and say, hey, such and such is doing this now. Yes. I don't think that doesn't help her at all. And she probably sees it, just doesn't bring it up in conversation. But sure. I don't add these stresses on her to know what other athletes are doing. It's taken us some time to realize little things like this, that honestly we just got to focus on our own performance, and that these other external things about what the other ladies are doing, even though they're so incredible, that we can't get caught up in their races. And Tia's finally, I wouldn't say finally, but she's known for some time now that she can only control what she can, and she's getting so much better at it, especially in the last couple of months. It's probably a big tool of improvement there. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I know what I'd like to see, what other competitors are doing, and I keep that in the back of my mind as well, and try to limit that stuff with Tia.
Was it somewhat of not a risk, but the Rogue Invitational had a competitor list that had a lot of names in it that, would be up in that final heat. Was it a risk in any way, shape or form to compete there based on, maybe losing some confidence if it didn't go according to plan, or showing your cards too early, like exposing where Tia's at? Was that a consideration at all?
That's always a consideration, and I think, again, that's natural, but you got to work out what's good for your athlete. So I know for Tia, she likes to know where she's at, right? And we did move here to be a part of the competition, the higher level competition with some of the sanctioned events. So for Tia as well, she doesn't want to back down. Like, it's kind of, and that's the mentality. And I keep pushing for that. Like, keep being you. This is what you want to do. Boom. Let's go at it. And I don't want her to fray from anything she doesn't naturally want. I understand that there'll be athletes saying, oh no, I'd rather go here. I believe it'd be more beneficial for me to go to this sanctioned event rather than where these guys are. And I get that, and I think there's importance in that as well. But again, it comes back to that relationship and identifying what is best for your athlete. And from a coaching point of view, yeah, of course, like, I would hate for her to lose confidence because of her placing. But it's also taken me time to see that Tia's very resilient with a lot of that stuff. And for me, if she didn't win that, there'll be so much more learnings and improvements from that loss. And I genuinely believe that as well.
Look, last one for you, Shane. And this has been I guess everyone's had an opinion on this issue. The reality is that for the first time ever, we're going to see cuts in the CrossFit Games on day one. I think the vast majority of people would put their absolute life on it that there's a few elite CrossFitters that are in no danger of being cut. But I imagine as a coach, it's something that you've thought about, hey, how do we handle this first day? Because this is a situation that's new for everyone.
Yeah, I certainly have put some thought about it, and we've had some chats around the table around this topic as well. Look, honestly, as long as the format of CrossFit Games or whoever's organising it these days, as long as they're consistent about trying to find the fittest on earth, we'll be 100% a part of the process. We will always be there. But I do stress the fact that if it's an event that requires a lot of faith in the judge, and like calling a no rep or for that matter, like I don't know, just say some freakish accident happens because of a judge or something like that, and that has a big impact on an elite athlete, and they can get them in the cut stage, especially the first cut. I think that would be very unfortunate to see. But again, I believe that they are trying to still find the fittest, and that we're still a part of that for that reason.
Probably don't want to give this away, but do you have an inkling of what day? Like, do you in your head have you prepared for what you think day one will be?
Yeah, I like to think that it'd be similar to last year's event.
Yeah.
But where they covered all aspects in day one. So, for instance, let's look at the crits race. There was a crit race, a high pace, say it's a 15-20 minute workout. And then the next one, what was that? That was there was gymnastics, was it? There's a 30 muscle ups?
30 muscle ups, and there was a total.
There's a total. So we covered a lot of spectrums of the CrossFit space. We did the strength, gymnastics, we did the crits, then we did an endurance event. So that covered all aspects, a lot of our boxes. So if they have that on the similar on day one, I think that they'll be getting closer to getting the CrossFit, the right group, I believe, in that space. But other than that, I've got no idea. So we're just, I've never picked a workout yet, so I don't believe me starting now. So I don't know.
No worries, mate. Hey, mate. Lastly, will we be seeing yourself and Tia in Australia anytime soon? I actually saw recently Tia's planning on being at the Toria Pro. Is that probably when you'll coincide the visit post games?
Yeah. So Tia and I, we're going to go to the Toria Pro. We're going to be a part of that. Well, not me. I'm just going to be there. Tia will be a part of that in a lot of ways. We're actually going to be going down there with a lot of the Noble crew. Tia just recently signed with the Noble guys, so they want to do a big campaign down there. So they're going to see what Australia's like and see what we have, and we're going to show them around, which is exciting for us, and hopefully bringing Noble to Australia sooner. But yeah, so we'll be there, and then maybe might do a few weeks of the Open during that time as well. So we're pretty excited to come home for a while too.
Any chance of getting you to compete at the Toria Pro? You definitely undersell yourself as an athlete, mate. I remember we did that powerlifting course together, and the whole course had to watch you do a workout, and you absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Ed. You're pumping my tires up. I love it. I'll be back. If you need me to do another podcast, I'll be back.
I love it. That's why I gave it to you.
No.
Thanks so much.
Your time, mate. We really appreciate it. Look, I would be lying if I said that we weren't all rooting for Tia, so we hope that you get the 3 in a row, mate.
Appreciate it. Again, thanks for your time, mate. I thoroughly enjoy your show as well, and we do appreciate a lot of support we're getting back home, and Tia's thrilled to be a part of everything that Australia has to offer.